Alright, I recently discovered that a state of Alabama licensed medical doctor who I was under the care of as a patient and who I have recorded in a telephone conversation giving me a false name and identity, claiming he was another staff in the clinic, has been employed by a medical practice who I went to separately and had misdiagnosed me, supported misdiagnosis, would not help me get a correct diagnosis, and who edited my medical records. Both the doctor and the medical practice in question are located in Birmingham, Alabama, USA. Alright, first of all, the doctor, Christopher Blake Thomas, MD. He was listed in medical records I obtained at AFC Urgent Care, that's American Family Care. The location is 9232 Parkway East, Birmingham, Alabama, 35206. 2019 visit, $175 cash. I saw nurse Kimberly Kelly there. I had an x-ray taken. This was outsourced via Xperity to a reading radiologist, Dr. Anna Maria Ecknick, MD-DABR. Dr. Ecknick wrote in her report that no injury was present. I went in complaining of a possible broken neck or broken skull, which led to the x-ray. The diagnosis didn't sit right with me. Got the pictures. I will put them in this video. You can see roughly 60 hours of documentation on what happened to me, including all the MRI, all the CT, all the x-rays, the uploaded written doctor's reports. I have recorded telephone calls with all these people, thoroughly documented if you want to see them. YouTube channel, My Medical Nightmare. So in the AFC x-ray, got the pictures back. 3-inch diameter, translucent, cloudy anomaly appears in the area below my skull on the left-hand side, where in CT images you can see a visible crack in bone, fracture, and damage. A couple months after this, I had an MRI done. 6 inches diameter of infection is visible in my head around this same area. I kept going to doctors and nurses, and they would not acknowledge my injury. I almost died from this injury in 2019. I was given 2 dead-end referrals from that American Family Care visit. One to Dr. Perry L. Savage Sr. The location is 1801 Gaston Highway, Birmingham, Alabama, 35235. Also given a referral to neurologist Kyle Hudgens, MD, 3686 Granview Parkway, Suite 600, Birmingham, Alabama, 35243. $300 visit at both doctors. Total waste of my time. Both of these specialist doctors looked at the MRI and CT that I produced for them. We were looking at the same pictures in the same room, and I knew that I had broken bone in my skull or cervical area of my neck. They sat there, looked at these pictures that show several inches diameter of infection and head trauma and bone damage, and told me there were no injuries in those pictures. This is unacceptable. I tried to contact Dr. Blake Thomas, MD, directly, and found he was working at American Family Care, AFC Urgent Care, Cahaba Village, 3000 Cahaba Village Place, Suite 110, Birmingham, Alabama, 35243. I tried to call American Family Care directly and Xperity. I called the CEO of Xperity, Dr. David Stern. My phone calls were never returned. AFC gave me obligations to return calls that were also never returned. When I got people from AFC on the telephone, they finally told me they would not help me get the diagnosis and errors fixed. Same with Xperity. Dr. Blake Thomas told me the same thing. When I originally called his office, I never spoke to Blake Thomas. After several days of phone tag, I was connected to an office manager who identified himself as Sadler, that's Sadler. I asked him for a real name. You can hear all this in recorded telephone calls in my videos. He refused to give me a first and last name. Office manager in a medical practice doctor's office. They officially refused to connect me to Dr. Blake Thomas also. I later listened to a WVTM Channel 13 television interview with Blake Thomas during the COVID epidemic, and his voice matched perfectly the voice of this office manager that I spoke to, Sadler. So I believe I was talking to that doctor who was giving me a fake name. I called around to other AFC locations. The staff there only know the office manager of the Cabo Village Mountain Brook AFC as Sadler. Around a year after this, I learned Blake Thomas was no longer employed at the Cahaba Village AFC. I forwarded these concerns to the Alabama Board of Medical Examiners. Also, I filed complaints with the Alabama Board of Nursing. These authorities and governing bodies would not take any action regarding my concerns. They continue to renew the licenses of these individuals. I attempted to call Dr. Donald Bruce Irwin, CEO of American Family Care. That phone call was never returned. I tried to contact the new CEO, Randy Johansson. That phone call was never returned. Alright, so now we'll talk about Complete Health. The clinic that I went to was known in 2019 as Northside Medical Associates. Location, 7201 Happy Hollow Road, Trussville, Alabama 35173. Headquarters was in Pell City, 74 Plaza Drive, Pell City, Alabama 35125. I visited the Trussville location in Nurse James Frankie Crum in 2019. In 2020, Northside Medical Associates and Birmingham Internal Medicine Associates merged with Complete Health. Dr. Ronald Helms, MD, also known as Rock Helms, former CEO of Northside Medical Associates, located in Pell City, was made the medical director of Complete Health's Birmingham market. So 2019 visit with Nurse James Frankie Crum. Complained of possible broken neck or broken skull. I had major complications at this time. Very close to dying. Nurse Crum stuck an instrument in my ear and confirmed swelling and infection. I was referred to an MRI at the St. Vincent's Ascension MRI facility located in the same building as the Northside Medical Associates location at 7201 Happy Hollow Road, Trussville, Alabama. $500 MRI. Got the results back. MRI was looked at by Dr. Michael Brant Ruff, MD, member of Vulcan Imaging Associates. Diagnostic radiologist with a special in neuroradiology. Went to college for close to 10 years to do his job. He does a lot of work for Ascension and St. Vincent's Hospital in Birmingham, Alabama. He wrote in his report that I had no injuries present. Got the pictures back, as you can see in these videos. And in the same area where in the CT scan you can see broken bone, several months have passed and I now have 6 inches diameter infection in my head. Very close to dying at this point. Kept going to these doctors, nurses, medical practices, and they kept telling me I had no injury. So I reported in a subsequent visit with Nurse Crum of Northside Medical Associates Complete Health. I told him that the radiologist missed my injury. The only reason I had the MRI scan done. Nurse Crum told me that he would talk to St. Vincent's and Ascension and try to get this worked out and fixed, because they wanted $500 for the MRI. I was a self-pay patient, no insurance, and I did not and still do not have $500 to give to some guy who went to college for 10 years and makes $140 an hour and can't do his job properly. Several weeks of phone tag ensued. Their solution, Ascension and Northside Medical Complete Health, was to get me financial assistance to get further medical treatment. That original MRI corrected. I needed a diagnosis for an injury I was dying from. After many weeks of phone tag, I was told I would not be granted one type of financial assistance, that is, access to care. I was given paperwork for another type of financial assistance that I later found out would not help me get my injury treated or even diagnosed. I attempted to contact the radiologist doctors directly and individually, called Vulcan Imaging Associates, of which Dr. Michael Brandt Ruff is a member. You can hear those recorded telephone calls on my YouTube channel. Representative Kim Mooney, who does not possess medical credentials, told me that Vulcan Imaging stood behind Dr. Ruff's report 100%. They would not correct that doctor's error. Also tried to contact Ascension and St. Vincent's Hospital in Birmingham. They would not help me get the errors of that doctor corrected. I believe he's still employed by both of these organizations. Filed complaints with the Alabama Board of Medical Examiners and the Nursing Board of Alabama. They would not reprimand the medical professionals that I went to as patients and misdiagnosed me. They continue to renew their licenses. I had a follow-up at Complete Health Northside Medical Associates in 2020 with nurse Celeste Richardson. She would not acknowledge my broken skull injury. I had a real hard time communicating with this nurse during my visit. I believe I was not treated as a human being. I took in printed out still images from the MRI which showed 6 inches diameter infection in my head. She simply asked me where I got the pictures from. She would not acknowledge the pictures and argued with me during most of my visit about the status of my health. I was in real bad shape, very close to dying. Was told she'd give a prescription for ivermectin, but only if I took a blood test. I requested a special analysis of the blood for possible parasites, fungus, etc. And she simply told me that would be expensive. So I was not given that analysis. In the MRI pictures and in the CT with contrast that I had done at St. Vincent's East in Birmingham, I believe you can see evidence of parasites and several inch-long insects in my head, which had grown. I complained to the manager in the Northside Medical Associates Complete Health Trussville location. I was told that I would get a phone call back. Never got a phone call back. I requested all of my medical records from Northside Medical Associates Complete Health, Celeste Richardson, and James Frankie Crum. I was told they would not give me my medical records on that day. When I did get them a few days later, they appeared heavily edited with relevant content to my medical condition either omitted, and another thing they did was they put in boilerplate disclaimer language. Cover sheet was signed off on by the Pell City office. I tried to call CEO Dr. Ronald Helms in 2020. My phone calls were not returned. Was going to inform him about what happened to me. Shortly after this, Northside Medical Associates was merged with Complete Health, owned by Pharos Capital. Alright, so in closing, Dr. Blake Thomas, MD, a doctor who I was a patient of, and failed to provide me adequate treatment, as well as pretending to be another individual and giving me a false name, has been given employment by Complete Health, another medical practice I had dealings with separately that also did not provide adequate medical treatment and edited my medical records. A very unfortunate partnership and set of circumstances here. If you're in the Birmingham, Alabama area and you're seeking medical treatment, please avoid both Complete Health and this doctor, Christopher Blake Thomas, MD.